Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 150. Can you believe it? I've been doing this forever. I couldn't believe it when I looked at the number today, and it was 150. And I have no friend today. I have set up some future appointments with people. I have hopefully 3 coming up in the next week, but there wasn't time and I was gone out of town, and so today you get me. Welcome. If you're new, I'm so happy you found me. I've been around for a while. But I want to say thank you to all of my Patreons. I have quite a list of people who are supporting me on Patreon, and it has made a world of difference. You can go over and support me for $2, $4, or $10 a month, and it just is really taking the pressure off, and I'm so thankful for those people who are willing to give me $2 every month. And the more of you there are, the easier it is for me to move forward with all of my my expenses that I have for my podcast and my small business and my newsletter and my website and just all the things that were just not being covered by pattern sales and teaching. And I was just really struggling there to keep my business solvent. And I know what a privilege it is to be able to do this and make friends and share things on the internet, but it also costs money. And there's no way around that. I have tried to keep all of my expenses minimal, and but over on the Patreon group this week, I will be having a separate podcast, as I always do, and we're having so much fun over there that I just want to encourage you to join. I don't want this to turn into a commercial, but we're doing book clubs and knit groups, and we're having a good time. It's not onerous. I hope it doesn't feel like people are getting information from me all the time, but they get the second half of my podcast with the best Corey stories that I have told in a long time. It was on last week's podcast, and so you could have access to all that information. Also, the giveaway this week, I'm doing a big giveaway. I'm giving away an entire mini skein set and some buttons. I found some beautiful celluloid buttons from 1910 to the 1920s, and they're just really cool looking. And so I decided that on my 150th podcast episode, and some of you have been with me since the very beginning, and I know that Patreon can be very controversial, and people don't always understand why someone would have to go there, and I fought it for a long time, a really long time, and it was just something that if I wanted to keep podcasting, I needed to do. So enough about that, but if you want to be eligible for the giveaway and get all the content, go over to patreon.com, IROCKNITTERS. What am I wearing today? This is a rocket tee, and I had a few skeins of fingering weight yarn, Dream in Color, and they were kind of laying together, and I was like, purple and green, what do you think? Purple and green? But I have to tell you something already. They opened a Gudrun Schoden outlet in Minneapolis. And so I had to go over to St. Louis Park off of 100 and 394 if you're local. And they opened my favorite clothing person's outlet here. I think they opened it because I buy so much. And they're like, where would be a good place to put an outlet? We have that one customer. Over the years, probably the last 10 years, I have every year bought another dress or a tunic or a short sleeve shirt from them. And so my closet is now filled with all this organic cotton. And so this is the dress that I had on underneath the sweater today. So it is just a cotton kind of shift with pockets. It's quite long. It has little cap sleeves, which I love that I have a little upper arm coverage. It was just like quite perfect. And I have little green capri leggings that I put on underneath my dresses that I just wear. Instead of like biker shorts, I have capri leggings. And yeah, so I had this on, so I just took it off because I thought it'd be easier to show you. But their fabric washes and wears amazingly, amazingly. And some of the stuff can be kind of pricey. So the fact that there's an outlet here. Now, I will say that, you know, in a traditional outlet, they have smalls and mediums, lots of extra smalls, big shoes, because they sell shoes, so the big sizes of shoes. But they did have, you know, some mediums and larges, so I was able to get a t-shirt and this dress. And I think I got the dress for $25. So it was definitely worth a trip over there to kind of have, to see what they had in there. They did have some of the new merchandise for fall. And when you shop with them a lot, you get points. And so you can kind of, you know, it's like Kohl's, right? They're always giving you points and you can reuse those and things like that. So the more I shopped, then the more points I got so that I could buy something new. But I did buy an orange raincoat from them this spring that I just absolutely love. The quality of the product, I just don't feel like it's fast fashion. I really feel like they're doing a lovely job. They do a lot with linen, really comfortable clothes for the casual, comfortable woman, right? Like the dresses are just flowy and easy to wear. I can put one on every single day and just leave the house. It's just wonderful. So if you've never checked it out, even if you don't want to invest in products and, you know, dresses and things like that from them, they have housewares, and getting their catalog is super fun. They have a big catalog and they print it on recycled paper and it's beautiful. And so go over to their website and sign up just to get their catalog, because I had it sent to my mom and she was like, all of a sudden I'm getting your dresses catalog. And I said, yeah, I had it sent to you, Mom. She's like, oh, I just love looking. So I don't know that this, my style is the style that everyone would love, but I really like wearing it and I was super excited. So I put that on this morning underneath my rocket tee, which has got the yarn over raglan, which you could do without, and then it's got an I-cord around here, so you could make those make one rights and make one lefts if you don't like that your little strap right there would show through. I just had that conversation with someone the other day. Where were we? Oh, we were trying on clothes. I was up north, and she said, oh, I just don't want my bra strap to show. And I said, why not? We all wear a bra. Like, I've worn a bra for 50 years, right? Like, who cares if the strap is not quite wide enough? I know I have that thing too, right? Where I'm just like, but it is what it is, right? So let's just let our bra strap show a little bit. When I had my dress on, of course it didn't show, but yeah. Are my dangly earrings gonna bother you guys today? Sometimes when I'm editing and I have on dangly earrings and they move a lot, I think, oh, people are probably like, would her earrings just stop moving for a minute? But I'm gonna do like this all the time, so they're gonna dangle. They're cute though. They're very sparkly. They're just like little green daisies with clear crystal in the center. I have them in 2 other colors too, because once I bought them, then I wanted to have them. I've had these for, oh my gosh, I'm gonna say 20 years, like forever. Yeah. Okay. I have a finished sweater that didn't get buttons. Even last time I said it would have buttons, but it doesn't. So I just thought, well, I'll share it with everyone today. This is the Lansbury Cardigan by Holly Yo. It was a Knit Picks pattern and kit, so it is still available over there. I did not use Knit Picks yarn, but I used the colors that were shown in the actual sweater. So I used lavender loon tweed yarn for this, and I absolutely love it. It definitely has some variegation in it, and I could not find buttons that I wanted to use in my giant button stash, which you all know if you've been here for a while, that I collect buttons, and I went on Etsy to see if I could find some buttons, and I didn't really want orange buttons on that brown button band. I thought it would be too bright to just have big orange buttons down the front, but that's the color that jumps out at me when I look at it, and I thought the purple and the blue might be too dark. And so I could have done a silver button, but I found a woman who makes those special buttons. It's the Bespoke Button Shop on Etsy, you know, and she makes those lovely buttons. And she had a set where one was each color of the rainbow. And I thought, I wonder if she would do a custom so that I would get one of those beautiful buttons in each of the colors of my sweater. So I contacted her, and she didn't get back to me right away because she was gone, and then when she did get back to me, I was gone. So things have been crazy, but she actually asked me to send her a snip of each of my colors of yarn so that she could match it. So yeah, she said I have, what did she say? 60 thread colors. She said, so I'll just match it. I'll match it up. So I put little snips of each piece of the yarn in the mail, and then she contacted me when she got them, and she said, what size button do you want? And the sweater calls for 0.87, which is weird, right? Like it's not 3/4 and it's not an inch. And I said, so either 3/4 or an inch, but the pattern calls for 0.87 buttons. Which if you're a sewer, maybe you know that. Maybe buttons come in that particular size, but they didn't, so I didn't know. So yeah, so she's making me buttons, which is just crazy. She says she makes buttons all the time, and she loves to do that kind of thing. So I just thought that was, I could get the 6 buttons in that Pride set for $36. So it's not cheap in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, and so I said, yeah, I'm happy to pay to have the perfect button for this. And then I told her that I have a podcast and I have an Instagram, and so I would share them. And so yeah, we're doing a little collaboration. We're working together. I mean, I'm still paying her. Let's be fair here. I'm paying her to make these buttons for me, and I'm sure I maybe could have found someone local. But yeah, I think when you spend almost 4 years knitting something, it's why I hang my head in shame. And you buy very beautiful yarn, Sam of Lavender Loon, and you know, because I knew it was going to be, I needed to custom order that as well, like she did. Like, this is an all-in sweater, like, right? It's one of those things where I think I said to my husband, for Christmas or my birthday, can I do this custom sweater order so that I can get really what I want from her? And so yeah, I'm gonna bring it lots closer. Oh, can you see how pretty that is? And look at that shoulder construction. Like, this sweater has all the things. Thanks, Stacy, for helping me with that shoulder. I did not understand after I did this, and then I picked up that this short rope, this was a piece, and why I couldn't get through my head, I could not. I couldn't get that I needed to go. And so Stacy came she's like, let me look at it. And she just knit it, like, followed the instructions, and yeah, and she could visualize. And then once she did it, I was like, oh, it totally makes sense. But I didn't understand the coming around of this and just picking up and then going back and forth so that you make this little wedge. Not that hard, but the pictures didn't show it very well. Okay, I thought I would show you how I'm going to use my sewing gauge to place the buttons for my just finished Lansbury cardigan. I have everything done except the buttonholes on this side, but here is my gauge, and it just opens like this. The sweater calls for 9 buttons, but I'm short, so I did not make the sweater quite as long. It is not blocked, but this is just super easy. I mean, it just makes the placement
of where you're going to put the buttons so easy. So now I'll just stick a little locking stitch marker in each one of these spots. I can stretch it out a little bit here, and once I get it blocked, then I can double check the length. But this little gadget on Amazon made this just the easiest. Okay, so you can see that I've marked where the buttons are going to go all the way up, and then where I'm going to make the buttonholes on the other side. Once I decide on my buttons, I can figure out how big a buttonhole I'm going to need, and then it will be done.
The pictures didn't show it all that well, and so I couldn't tell what that was, but I'm all ready. The buttonhole is made, the stitch markers are laying there, and then the stitch markers I've already picked up and done some rows. So all I have to do is make sure that the size of the button, I make the buttonhole big enough for the size of the button when they come. So I just decided, wait, I could have done that button band, but just wait until the buttons come and make sure that it's either going to be a 3-stitch buttonhole or 4-stitch buttonhole. You should just double check. So yeah, I'm super excited to have this off my needles, and it'll be ready for fall. I have not blocked the sleeves, so I need they need a little block in order to kind of line up. But yeah, I'm super excited to have this off the needles. It was kind of one of those kind of more of a process knit, right, to get it done. You're just changing colors a lot. I like weaving in ends. It's one of my favorite things to do. I like weaving in ends, and so doing the stripes was not a problem for me. So Amber, if you're listening, you should send me some socks and I could weave in ends, or maybe I should just come down for the weekend sometime and just weave in ends. You could knit. You're not getting much knitting done these days because you're working too hard, but Amber doesn't like to weave in ends. Okay, what else did I finish? I finished another City Lights hat. So I showed, I believe, yes, I showed the sparkle raspberry one. And then I knit, surprise. So I knit an orange one, surprise. I bought the yarn. So these were kits from the knitting place. You get 2 skeins of yarn, a skein of mohair, a skein or a ball of the sequins yarn, and a pom-pom. And I can make a whole nother hat with the yarn that I had because I didn't make the biggest size hat. So yeah, the kit is maybe what you would consider to be a little pricey, but it's because you get so much extra yarn. And I've had these for a while and I wasn't knitting them, and I just thought, okay, you know, I've been so fortunate to travel and go to some really lovely yarn stores over the years, and to pick up kits and to meet people and to watch podcasts, and then, you know, want to support those people. And so then you support them and then you don't get the things knit. Hats are so easy to be portable for me. I can just take them everywhere. And every time I take this out, people are like, whoa, look at all that sparkle. And they are tiny little sequins. Just teeny tiny. So it's called the City Lights hat. It came with this pom-pom, and I haven't decided if I'm going to put the pom-pom on or not, because I personally would like an orange pom-pom. If I'm going to have an orange hat, I'd like an orange pom-pom. And so I think this looks cute on here. It's a snap pom-pom, and it's real big. Like, look at that. So it's a lovely, it's from Big Bad Wool, and it came as part of the kit. This hat came with a brown, tan, beige pom-pom, which isn't me either, but I don't think I'll keep both of these because I don't need 2 sparkle hats. So I may put the white kind of on here. It depends. I'm pretty sure that I will not be gifting this to one of my brothers or nephews at Christmas time. It will go to my nieces or my sisters-in-law. So I think putting a pom-pom on is fine. And then, although I do think these would make great pride hats, right? Like, wouldn't they be fun to wear at the parade? Although it'll be 95 degrees here in Minnesota, but I thought those kits were so fun. So one of the reasons that I decided to record by myself this time and decided not to just, scramble to find someone last minute because I wasn't organized, is that I want to do a knit along for my 150th episode. And so I wanted to invite everyone and not just my Patreons. And so I am going to do a Shetland Wool Week hat knit along because I want to make all the Shetland Wool Week hats. And so it's self-serving. But if you've never knit a Shetland Wool Week hat or a fingering weight color work hat, this is the knit along for you. So you could get out all your fingering weight scraps. You do not have to use Jamieson and Smith or Jamieson wool, although I have used it in the past and I own quite a bit. Like I've been collecting yarn for 40 years, so I do own quite a bit, and I own 3 of the hat kit the hat patterns already. So I have shown on the podcast when I did my little update, and you can go back and watch that, the hats that I've already made, which is the bobble hat, the Piri Fleurs, and the sheep hide are the ones that I've made. Then the ones that I own I have here, and this is, self-serving, right? Because I want to make the newest one. This is the Islesboro, and this is a sheep ram's head, and then it's got the waves and then the star on the top. And so I purchase the pattern every year when it comes out, usually when I'm aware that the pattern comes out. So they're all available on Ravelry and on ShetlandWoolWeek.com. And then the kits are available at many yarn stores. So Jimmy Bean's Wool has kits, and if you just Google Shetland Wool Week hat kit, places that have them, even old kits, will come up. So I wanted to purchase the kit for this one, and I checked through my stash to see if I had any of these colors. So this is what you get, and it's enough to make several hats. So if you are a podcast viewer and you have a knitting group and you have people who also want to make it, you could divide these up very easily and purchase this together, which is what I did for my sheep hide hat. I purchased the kit because purchasing this, many skeins of different colors can be pricey. And then I sold half my kit to a knitting person in my knitting group, and then she made one. And then there was still enough yarn left of that kit. I got it back from her and I made mittens to match. So this is plenty. And then once you start making them, you'll have these colors to put into other hats. So this is the newest one, and I have the kit ready for that. Then I also owned the hat called the Schwook. I just think it's so funny. This is old. This is by Hazel Tyndall, and it was the Shetland Wool Week hat from I'd have to look, 2014 maybe, I think. And none of these appeal to me, right? None of those colorways really appeal to my sense of color, but it is the star and the X, right? And then you just have some graphic stuff here. And so I already own this, and I probably have owned it since 2014, and it was in my Ravelry library. So I went out and looked at other Wool Week hat colorways from people, and I found somebody who knit it in a colorway that I don't own a hat in. So I wear these hats all spring, summer, and fall when I walk my dog. They're fingering weight, they're lightweight, they're warm, but they're airy. I can't really explain. And they're just perfect. When I take mine off, it kind of stays the size of my head. It's just perfect. It doesn't have a big fold up brim on it or anything. And they're so fun to knit, and they're not a long commitment. So look at this one, right? I found this one and I was like, I don't have anything in the green colors. So I went to this gal's project page and I wrote down all the colors that she had used because she had them listed. And then I went over to try to find the colorways to see if I had, how many greens I had, how many yellows, or those kinds of things that I might have left over. And then I was able to come up with a kit of the greens that were similar. So if you want to really go all in, you can order a color card from Jamieson & Smith or from Jamieson Wool. They're both on the Shetland Islands, which I find so interesting. There's a company that has the same name, but they both do yarns, and you can order a color card, and they have, you know, 47 greens and 47 yellows. No, not that many, but and then you can kind of see, like, I knew I needed a light and a dark, you know, whatever. So I got together and got some stuff for my green one. So I have a green one ready to go, and I just copied somebody else's Schwook hat colors. But okay, that'll work. So that I put in there. That one's ready to go. And then the third one that I already owned, this one is from 2023, and it's the Boogie Fleur. Bug flowers, I think it means. I'm not absolutely sure. And so it's this one. And of course, I love this because of the oranges. And so I do own another, maybe 2 patterns that I just said, okay, you've done enough when I got organized for 3 of them. So there are 3 color palettes that they kitted up for this one. And here's the flower, F-L-O-O-E-R. And so then I went through and got colors ready for that one. I'm not loving this. So I'm sure that that's what the number was, but I'm gonna probably swap this out to be like a cream, so everything pops. And I think that will be a really fun one to have. So just to get you all motivated and wanting to you know, kind of knit along with me, I'm going to knit all of July, all of August, and all of September. So it's a 3-month knit along. You can enter as many hats as you want. If you have been collecting these hat patterns, or you have some Jamieson Wool, or you have just fingering weight scraps, because a lot of them just use 5 and 6 colors. So you just get your scraps out. And you know, Jamieson Wool is a woolly wool. It is not soft. It's not next to skin, you know, like merino. You could certainly do it in merino. People do it in merino all the time, but they do come in 50-gram skeins, and you can find kits for almost all of them everywhere. So that is an option for all of you if you're interested in joining me in knitting 1 or 2 or... So I think I made a list. I checked off the ones I've done. I want to say that maybe there are 14 of them out there. I'm just guessing. I'd have to go look. Maybe I'll put the number in. I'll go count on my list. It's in the office. My husband's watching the Open on Father's Day, so I don't want to interrupt, but because I already made him leave the living room so I could record. But yeah, that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to get some prizes together that will be hopefully significant and motivating for people. If you are a bag maker or yarn dyer and you watch this podcast and you want to donate something, that would be great too for prizes. But yeah, I'll give some things away, and then we'll just join in. So you have from now until September 30th. I will look at the podcast date for my September podcast, and then we'll end it, and I'll draw that weekend. And so whatever, I could look now probably. Okay. So the winners will be announced on October 7th, and I will close the thread sometime around September 30th, October 1st to, you know, kind of do all time zones. So I will do that, and then I will put that it goes through 9:30, and winners, I'm writing this down so I don't forget, on 10/7. So 3 months to do one hat. But I know that you're going to need some time, right? If you want to order a kit, if you want to look it through all of the hat patterns and see which one you like the best. Kind of what I decided is that I would try to make them all, like I'd like to do one that's in reds. My most recent one was in the pinks and the raspberries. And maybe I'll even branch out and do one in like black and white. Maybe if I did like black and white and gray, and then had one color that was like a pop of color in there, like hot pink or lime, that might be kind of fun to do it like that, right? So yeah, you could just play with color. So join me, please join me for the Shetland Wool Week Hat Knit Along. And there's so many to choose from, so I think we will be able to kind of hit everybody's happy place on all of that. I've only been watching a couple of things, but let me tell you, have I been watching while I knit at night. I have been watching Maya Feliz on YouTube. She bought a rundown 3-home unit in Portugal, and she is a young person with an architecture degree, and she is rehabbing and wants to live off the land. And there's a cabin on the land, so she's living in the cabin with very little. She's been working on this now for her 2nd year, and so I highly recommend, if you just like watching someone's dreams come true, right? Like, how many years did I talk about being a knitwear designer before I became a knitwear designer? How many years did I think about being a podcaster before I became a podcaster? And I didn't talk about it to people, but I would write it down. I would say I'm going to be a knitwear designer for a long time. So when I see someone who has a dream of something that they want to do, and then they're starting to fulfill it, I love watching that, right? So her name is Maya Feliz. She's a German living in Portugal. And yeah, it's really, really been fun to watch. Then I watched Bridgerton. Oh, Bridgerton. If you have not watched Bridgerton, this is season 3. It came out in 2 parts. And if you turn it on, I think in a moment you would say, well, no wonder Corey likes this. It's full of color. It is just full of color. It's the Regency era, but they've upscaled it. It includes a completely diverse cast, people of color, and all of the colors in the world. The women's gowns, the hair, the makeup. I've been watching some interviews, so you can go out and watch interviews with the cast and kind of the behind the scenes on YouTube. So that's been really fun. I had to stay up the other night until 2 a.m. because I had one left episode and I had to watch it. And I should have gone to bed and watched the next night, but I didn't. I stayed up. It was 2 something before I went to bed. I mean, I'm a night owl, but I could continue to stay up later and later every night until I'm up until like 3 and 4 in the morning. And then I don't have a day because I want to sleep until 9 or 9:30 or 10 in the morning on those days. But that leads me right into what I did this week. And I'm going to share this because I think it's just so much fun. My friend Mary, who has been on the podcast, Mary Yasvik, took me to the Faribault Woolen Mill clearance sale. And she made me get up at 5:30 in the morning. She goes every year. It's her happy place. It's her thing. And she wants to be first in line. And Faribault is an hour south of us, roughly. And so she said, I'm going next Thursday. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know. And she said, you have to be at my house at 6:30 if you want to go. And I was like, 6:30? And she's like, yep, I go down. And I said, well, I have to teach a little boy how to knit in the afternoon. I said, when will you be back? And she goes, I'll be back by knitting at 11. And I was like, oh, well, of course. If you get up that early, you can get a lot of stuff done before 11 o'clock. I don't get up that early. So I don't get that much stuff done before 11 o'clock. But yeah, so my friend Renee and I, we met and we got in the car and we went down there and it started to rain. And when we got there, it opened an hour later. So we had an hour to spare. And so we went to a coffee shop and we had caramel rolls, cinnamon rolls, quiche. We went to a little coffee shop in town. They have a lovely, cute little downtown in Faribault, but I did not know what to expect. So we got there first. It opens on Thursday and it runs like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And it's all their seconds and then just discounted stuff that they need to get rid of. And I wanted to try to buy a blanket for us, a wool blanket. And I'm going to put some pictures in here because there's a falls right outside in the parking lot. There's a beautiful falls. And I'm wondering if at one time the mill was water powered there on the water. I'm not sure. I didn't ask anybody. But I ended up purchasing quite a few things, so I thought I would share. I got a wool blanket for a friend who wanted a queen size wool blanket as a gift. So I got that. I purchased that. And then I purchased a shirt for Ross, a woven cotton shirt, because they also have cotton blankets. And so I got a shirt for him for $10, a men's collared pocketed denim-y cotton woven shirt for $10. And then the blanket I got for our bed, the wool blanket. Now, when we were in Maine, we bought a cotton blanket, like an heirloom cotton blanket, in their clearance room. And that's what's on our bed in the summer. And I showed that on the podcast. And so I kind of wanted to get a wool one. But like these blankets run, you know, $1,200. There's no way that I would spend that on a blanket. But then they're marked down to half price, and then they're discounted because these are seconds. So you have to open them up, and they all come in these like plastic bins, and then they're marked down by price. And so I purchased this one for a future gift. I think it would make a beautiful baby blanket for someone to like lay on the floor for like an heirloom. And I think I got this one, it's a throw size, which is, it was a limited run, and it has a misweave in it, which means at one spot there will be a little teeny blip. Like you can hardly find where they are. It's incredible to me. Some of you open them up and you can see a line across the middle, and others you can hardly find what's wrong with them. So it is woven. And it had all these bright colors, and so I bought that as a gift. And then I bought, of course I did, I bought this one, right? So on my 4-season porch at my house, I have a blue leather sofa that we have had for 25 years. And I saw this and I was like, would that not go perfect in my little orange kitchen chair or on the blue leather sofa that everyone loves to nap on? So I have a knitted blanket in there, but that leather sofa is so slippery that knitted blanket won't stay on it, and it falls behind the couch all the time. So here is the tag. It's Faribault Woolen Mill, since 1865, made in the USA. And so I got this one to put in there, and my husband likes to nap in there, and his dad liked to always nap on that couch. It's a super comfortable couch. But I thought that would be really fun because I got those new dog chairs. Do you remember? You know, we've been in this house 20 years and we've had to have a new roof and we've had to paint, and you know, things come around. We got new garage doors. Now this summer we need a new deck because the railing is wonky. We're going to get a railing for our front step. You know how you do those upkeep things? Well, I had the same faded tall blue back chairs in there for 20 some years, and I finally said to my husband, I'm buying new chairs. We're getting new chairs for the porch. And I got the white with the dog fabric on it. It's so cute. And I thought this would also, because it's blue. The dogs are like mostly blues and rusts. So I thought, oh, this will be perfect. And then I purchased a big king-sized wool blanket for our bed. It does have a blip in it. We laid it on the bed, and I asked Ross if he thought that he could find it, and he was like, I don't care if I can find it or not. This is perfect. So I got the big king-sized woven wool blanket for $129, right? These were $59 and $79, and regularly like, you know, $300 and $400. This is the throw. I'll show you. It's this wide and this long. Like, you know, if you're a shrimp like me, it's very, very big. Plenty big. And woolly, but not unsoft. But definitely woolly. Like there is a tiny bit of a prickle factor. So anyway, we had so much fun. They have you been to a laundromat where they have wire carts? That's what they had. And they would run one out to you. And then Mary just started grabbing. And she's like, take what you think you might want, because otherwise people will grab it and then you'll come back and it won't be there, and then you can put it back. And so she was just filling up the cart, and I got a little like frenzied, like, I can't do this. Like, this is too much for me. I'm feeling like I need to grab 60 things and I only want to buy 2, right? So I went into the store where they had all of the regularly priced merchandise. They had the cutest cotton Christmas blanket, red and green on a diagonal weave. Oh, so cute. I didn't buy it. I just was like, too much. And I told Ross, I said, I'm gonna buy some things, but I want to make sure that I'm getting things that we can gift to people. So we had talked about it ahead of time, right? And it's not like the sale won't be there again next year. And I needed to buy that big blanket for my friend, the queen blanket. So I really wanted, and she wanted anything blue. So I really wanted, like, to make sure that I got one of those if I could. So it was really fun and really interesting, because I had never really paid attention to the woolen mill down there. I've been to the Bemidji woolen mill 100 years ago, and I think I bought yarn or mittens at that many years ago, which that's up north. But yeah, this was really fun. So I got us 2 blankets and the shirt for Ross. So we got the big blanket and then the throw, and then I got a gift and then the thing for my friend, and I spent more than everybody else, not by a lot, but the lady in front of me, like, if you knew what you were doing, the lady in front of me spent like $1,300, and she had blankets and throws for every member of her family for birthdays and Christmas. And she had, like, she was checking out and she was like, John, Mary, Sue, Elin, like, and the person was checking her out and looking at all the dots and the colors, and they got her a giant cart to take the stuff to her car, and she said, I'm done for the year. This is what everybody's getting. And I thought, wow, if you were really organized and you had a family that would appreciate, wool blankets, and being able to get one that, on clearance, I mean, they really were marked down. But it would have been easy to kind of go a little overboard too. So anyway, yeah, that's what I did. I went to the Faribault Woolen Mill sale. I also went up north knitting. We went up north fishing with a friend of Ross and I, and they have a fifth wheel. And so we had talked to them, and she loves to fish. He likes to fish. And Ross said, I want to fish. And so she wanted to learn how to knit. She's a crocheter, and she thought her grandma taught her how to knit, so it was a breeze to teach her. And so we went up north, and we stayed at Lake Winnebagosh, where we always go, and we brought home 14 walleye. I'll put a couple pictures in. Lynn, my friend Lynn, caught a 30-inch northern. It was huge. It was like 9 pounds. They did throw it back because walleye are better eating, and they were catching a lot of walleye. But they got pictures in the boat of some of the walleye, and then she and I went to Walker Monday to do some shopping, and she'd never been to Walker, and Walker has a lot of just cute little shops and things like that. So we just went in each of the little stores, and they had things like chocolate covered peanut butter popcorn, and those dips and soups that you can buy, and they had a kitchen store, and clothing, and I found a car shirt for Ross, and I was so excited because we go up to the car show because he has the new old Corvette that he bought. He sold his other 2. He sold his truck and his other orange Corvette, which I was so sad to see go. And the new one's white. But we go up to the car show, and they had the short-sleeved shirt with, and I'll have a picture in here, with old vintage cars all over it. I thought it'd be perfect, and it was big and tall, and it was just way too big. They didn't have it in a medium, and he's little. he's a littler guy. He's 5'10" maybe, and trim, very trim. He wears trim fit shirts, and there's just no way I could have even had it altered. And I came home and I looked all over to see if I could find a medium, and I don't think they even make it because it was in that big and tall. But it was super cute. They had one with another blue one with cars on it, and they had some with fish on them. It was just, we just had a really lovely time with them. Yeah, her husband has cancer, and that's one of my husband's best friends. And it has been a journey, and he will be on a journey for a while here. He's 2 years out from his diagnosis, and will be on infusions forever. And so we want to spend as much time with them as we can, and just having fun and making plans. We signed up for a week next year. This time we were only there for 4 days, and I'm a chatterbox, but I have met my match in Lynn. She is a dear, dear, dear friend, and she and I sat and talked for 3 days, and then finally we said, we better do something. Let's go to town. So yeah, that was nice. All right, Chevy did get bit while we were away, and some of you have seen that on Instagram, so I should tell you that he was at boarding while we were gone. We got a call on Monday that he had gotten bit. When you see that pop up on your phone, it's like, you know, and right away I thought, oh, did he do something? But she said, no, it wasn't Chevy. He was in his kennel during downtime, because they rotate the dogs through so that they don't just play, because Chevy would just go wild all day long. And they were bringing another dog down the center hallway where the kennels are, and Chevy, who would get super excited about that, and I can totally see it because he does it at our gate in the kitchen, he would have jumped up and his paws went through, you know, because they would have had a bar, and his paws went through, and that he would have been, you know, and that dog got scared. And as a dog that had never been aggressive before, bit him in the paw, just chomped down on his paw. And she said I don't think he needs to go to the vet. He has 2 puncture wounds on the bottom of his foot. He doesn't seem to be too bothered. We're treating it. We have a protocol 3 times a day, but if you want us immediately to take him to the vet, we will. I said, no, we're coming home tomorrow. You know, if it's not bleeding, gushing blood, I wasn't that worried. And we got home that afternoon and we picked him up, and he was favoring it a little bit. And, but they, you know, they had been treating it, and he laid on his back and he let me look at it, and I could see where they were, and they were not open wounds anymore. And when we got up the next morning, he was not bearing weight on that paw, and he would not let me touch it. And I was like, what is going on? And he was licking and licking, and I went down and I tried to lift the toenails, and he would yelp, and I was like, he injured the toenail, right? Or the toe bed or whatever. And so I called the vet, and they're like, yep, bring him in this afternoon. So I took him in, and sure enough, between his toes, of course, does that not make sense that you don't just get 2 punctures on the bottom, that you would get one on the top, if right? And in between the toes, and his foot is he's got giant, like, panda bear paws, like they're white and they're just full of fur, and I couldn't see in between there. And then the vet got down there, and she's like, oh yeah, it's starting to smell, he's got an infection. And so she shaved it. It took us 3 of them to kind of heat it, to not want us to touch it. So she shaved it, and she could see in there, and she got some antiseptic in there, and then she put him on 2 antibiotics and pain med and sent us home with a bottle of antiseptic. He'll be fine, but it was stinking, and he got bit. And so I tried to get a picture of him that night limping, and he didn't want to be by me because we kept trying to touch it, and he was laying over here, and he was licking and licking, and I wasn't letting him lick it, so he was not in the family room by me, which is so rare. But then he would, you know, so finally he sat with me most of the day on Wednesday, because we have an inflatable cone, and he could still reach it. He's got a long neck and long paws, and he could still reach it. And getting the big plastic cone on him is like putting it on a buck and bronco. Like, we would have had to sedate him to get the big plastic cone on. And so as long as I held him, he would sleep and he wouldn't lick. So I just had to hold him for 2 days like a babe. And it's much better. But some of you may have seen me trying to coax him out of the family room out of the dining room into the family room the other night. And he was kind of limped over it. What are you doing? Can you come see Mom? Can you come see? Come here. Poor guy. So he's doing He's doing fine now. He got the zoomies yesterday afternoon and was tearing all over because we weren't exercising him. So we didn't walk him, we didn't run because, you know, we kept him in and down. He was just running all over. And he let Ross touch it today. Ross could get right down there and touch it, so it'll be fine. But those are my 3 little Corey stories this week. And you guys haven't had a Corey story for a while on this part of the podcast because I'm mostly doing chatting with friends. I do have 3 articles to share with you that I have read recently, so let me do that. There was an article in the Atlantic. Sweater-eating moths are an unbeatable enemy that will eat much more than just your clothes. And that was fascinating. I mean, we all know about moths. If you're a yarn person at all, we all know that we probably should have cedar or lavender or detriment moth prevention around, or we should be moving our sweaters and our yarn and throwing our stash, you know, tossing our stash, isn't that what they call it, for that kind of thing. But, and I have never had a problem, but I do know someone had a lot of her yarn eaten by carpet bugs at one time. And she was storing it under her bed, yarn under her bed. And they got little nibbles in a lot of that. So you have to be really careful about that kind of thing. But I saw a article this week on Instagram by the Frog and Cast. And so she uses frog, like I frog something in knitting and then I cast on. Frog and Cast, and she has a website and she's a knitwear designer, and the name of the article is The High Cost of Free Patterns. So there are a number of knitwear designers out in the world who are supported almost solely by big yarn companies. So Lion Brand is one, and there are crochet and knitwear designers who design for them pretty much exclusively, and then they give the pattern away on a website where there are ads, tons of ads, or if you can't get it unless you buy the yarn, but the pattern is free. And so she talks about how that is doing a disservice to those designers and to other designers because we are not honoring the skill and the knowledge that it takes to be a pattern writer. And it's a really good little article, opinion piece on, you know, what it's doing when we say this piece of writing that someone has done has no value, has no monetary value, right? And we all go out and look for free patterns now and then. I have been there, right? Like I just need a cast on number for a baby blanket. I'm just going to knit it in, you know, garter, but I need the number. And so I'm not going to pay for a pattern to find a number to make it wide enough, or whatever your reasoning is for taking a free pattern from someone. We've all done it, but I can see her point. She had really good point for, you know, why we maybe shouldn't be looking for free. And even more specifically, I think she was kind of calling out these designers who get paid by a yarn company for a pattern and have to continually put out patterns, but don't get paid for the pattern itself from a knitter. The company just runs them, it's just a constant production mill of producing a pattern for this company of where they get paid, but it's just to sell yarn. It doesn't put any credibility or importance on the pattern, is kind of what she's saying. I'm not doing a good enough job. She does a better job. Then I saw this really interesting piece on Instagram from a person that was talking about leadership and being a leader in different ways. And I think he was actually speaking to a large group of people, but the camera was just on he and this volunteer that he had up front. And I'm going to put it in here because to me, it was just eye-opening, you know, about how you cannot make people do what they don't want to do or go where they don't want to go, and that you're much better walking with someone than standing across from them. And I hope you enjoyed. I'll copy it and put it in the podcast here because I thought it was really.
This table, right where I'm at right now, let's count to the podium. Okay, ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Half of 8 math majors is what? 4. Let's find the middle. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, stop right there. Face that wall. Come out this way a little bit. Feet shoulder width apart. This way a little bit. Hands up. All right, we're in a halfway point. Right here we go. Oh, God, I'm starting with that top. When we were walking together, did he ever resist?
No, but you were
Ushering
him
him.
along.
But never once did I feel kind of a step. Immediately when I started pushing, what happened? Did I have to tell him? No. Here's the message. Physically or mentally, when we feel like we're being pushed, what will we do? Push back. We'll push back. Automatically.
So I think that's about all I have for the first part of podcast this week. I'm going to share my books and a thought of the week. I'm going to share some designs that I have coming out. I'm looking for testers, and as well as the giveaways, which will be over on the second part of the podcast, which is the Patreon podcast. So if you want to continue on with me, I post the entire podcast, the first part and the second part, over on Patreon. And you just click on it, and then you can watch it in Patreon. But if you click on it again, it will take you to YouTube, and it's a private YouTube showing. But you can comment down below for the giveaways and things like that. And so I'm going to say goodbye for now. Thank you all for watching and being with me. I hope you join the knit along so that we can all have new Shetland wool week hat. Come all in for your hug. I haven't done a hug for a while. All right. See you in 2 weeks. That will be bumping up right before the 4th of July. So I hope you are all having a good summer. We're having incredible rain amounts here. Just last night, we had another 2 inches. Everything's soggy and growing like a weed. Bye.